Hey guys, welcome back to P Square Sips and Convo with Pamela Guillory Lee
and Paulette Afro Angel Abby No.
And this podcast, we're going to talk about a new year, a new mindset. The holidays are over and New Year's Eve has come and gone. New Year's Day has come and gone. And we just want to talk about wellness, the whole mind, body, and soul part of wellness. I know a lot of times we set New Year's resolutions. And a lot of times it's just, okay, I'm going to eat better, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to make more time for family. But sometimes we neglect the whole mind, body, and soul part of a new mindset. Take it away, friend.
Yeah, and we had like a long year, 2 years actually, with the pandemic and everything else that's going on. I'm sure other people have different life experiences that happened within the past 2 years. So, basically, we want to talk about this, like focusing on yourself, on your wellness, on your health, things that kind of like can get your mind off of like the stresses of life. They never stop; they keep going. We personally experienced our own stressful experiences, and transitions. Especially when you get older. So right now we're going to be talking about yoga.
Yes.
So that's one of the ways to kind of release and relax. So we have two guests here.
Very special guests. We have Onika Miller and Kendra Bailey. We're going to let Onika introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Onika Miller, also known as O. Accountant by day, yogi by night. I am a yoga instructor at the YMCA on the east side of Houston. Been practicing off and on since 2008. Received my 200-hour yoga certification in 2011, but did not actually start teaching until 2015.
Wow.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, happy to have you. Yes. And Kendra?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kendra Bailey, but a lot of people may know me as Nikki. So, yes, Kendra is my government name. I am a engagement consultant that focuses on population health management, which is like corporate wellness, consulting clients on how to get their employees healthy and engaged in all types of wellness, as they've been talking about the mind body connection and all of that. Yoga, I've been practicing yoga, oh my gosh, I don't even know the exact year, but I'm going to say it was probably around 2004, 5-ish.
Ooh, that's a long time.
But then I off and on for many years, and I finally got my yoga certification, 200-hour in 2017. So I am happy to be here because I enjoy all things health and wellness. That is what I do in my professional life, but dabble and also do and teach yoga sporadically. I'm not at a one spot, but I do do some things.
All right, well, welcome, ladies. Welcome. And we know that a lot of companies have more initiatives for wellness for their employees now, because with the events that have been happening in the past year, people are saying, wait a minute, if it's not mentally, if it's not physically, but we need breaks. We need to take time for ourselves.
Definitely for mental health, for sure.
For your mental health. So a lot of companies are offering incentives for wellness, to exercise, to go to the doctor and things of that nature. So it's definitely in the forefront now, which is a really good thing in my opinion. So we're going to dive right on into yoga, what you ladies are experts at. So okay. And so both of y'all can
experts.
our yogi experts.
Y'all can handle what we can.
Yes.
Okay, so in y'all own words, what would y'all describe or define of what yoga is? In your own words, pretty much.
I'd say yoga. It depends on the individual. To me, in its simplest form, it's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, connecting all three. Mm-hmm. I personally take it as a personal journey to go within, tap into your mind, body, soul, and that's taken on and off the mat.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. yoga to me, there's a quote, and I'm going to butcher this quote, but that is okay. Maybe I should look it up. But I saw a quote that said that yoga is the journey to the self through the self. Something like that. I know I'm butchering it, but it was something like that. And that really resonated with me because I totally agree is that yoga is a mind and body connection. It's one of my yoga teachers when I was going through my certification said the way that you show up on the mat is the way that you show up outside of the mat. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. So if you're a type A personality in general, or maybe you had a bad day, whatever the case may be going on personally, that will then translate to you when you come and get on the mat of yoga. And so for me, yoga is quieting the mind and being present in the moment.
Interesting.
Now,
To add to that, actually, sorry, to add to that, I'd say there's an awareness that you bring about within yourself. Again, carrying on and off the mat, how you respond to certain things. Yoga kind of helps you take a moment to breathe, think, and then respond. Yes, just bringing some awareness to how you respond.
Okay.
We just did a podcast about alpha females and beta females. I don't know if this kind of ties into it, but me and Pam, we classify ourselves as alpha females. We have a lot of stuff going on personally in our lives. So for a woman that's like on the go, she's always busy, has a lot of different life transition going on. Like, what are your own personal recommendations for yoga for that particular type of woman?
Just like with anything, making the time. And it's really, before we can talk about the physical aspect of anything, it starts here in the mind. And so it's really taking that moment to pause. And whether, finding whatever practice or variation of yoga works for you, since we're talking about yoga, but taking that moment to pause and get on your mat. Even if you just get on your mat and do like something was called restorative yoga, where it's just really, you just laying there, slow movements, using all kinds of props. It's really not about the poses. It's like getting present and just quieting down and just
being present. That's a big
Yes.
thing. That's so big. Yeah.
So what role? Oh, go ahead. What are you about to say?
Just taking some time to breathe.
Yeah.
Pause. And it could be on the mat, it could be off the mat. Just taking a few moments to just breathe, reconnect with self.
So you were saying that you have to, just take that moment to breathe, and a lot of people that's something that we overlook. So that times we're just going, and we just don't take the minute to be mindful and just breathe. So can you describe or elaborate the benefits of yoga?
Benefits of yoga, I mean, aside from the obvious, there's a physical benefit. You strengthen your core, your posture, muscles. But onto the mindfulness piece of it, take deep breaths. As our daily tasks, we rarely take the time to breathe properly. We breathe from the chest as opposed to breathing deep in the diaphragm. So yoga kind of forces you to slow down in that aspect and really go within, take deep, long breaths. And, I mean, that's a benefit for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I again can echo what Onika's saying is there's so many benefits to yoga, and depending on what you're looking to possibly get out of it. Yes, the physical, I think some people may start off thinking, okay, I want to get into the physical benefits of yoga, but then the more you practice and get deeper into that, your relationship and making it your own, then you can find out how it plays a lot of role mentally for you, alleviate stress, depending on the type of yoga that you're doing. But when we're talking about mindfulness, which is, the state of being present and conscious and aware, and that, going back to like the breathing. And one thing that I like to do just personally when I'm at work, and if I get like an email or I'm talking to somebody that is just tap dancing on that last nerve, I have to tell myself, take a moment to pause.
Yes.
And then be mindful of my breath. Just like Onika's saying, like take a moment, okay, let me take a couple of deep breaths. And there's also different types of breathing, whether you do like box breathing, whether you do the breath of fire, etc. But just being like we don't think about breathing because we're sitting here, we're breathing right now.
Right.
But it is taking that moment to like, okay, let me, recenter myself, actually taking some time to focus and take a couple of deep breaths and then come back to whatever it is that you're doing and focus on. It makes it's something like that, something so small, but for me, I found that it makes a big difference.
So it's more like a practice that you can like make practical in your daily life. It's not just about posing and this and that. Like it's like the breathing part. Make it practical on your everyday life to where you're present and you're more relaxed. Pretty much. Okay.
And if you're in a yoga class and you will hear the instructor cue out, inhale, exhale, because sometimes when you're exercising or even doing yoga, you stop breathing and you don't even realize that you're doing it because you're trying to maybe focus on getting that pose right or whatever. So it's always good to be aware of the breathing.
I ain't gonna lie, I did yoga for the first time. This is before I met y'all. Oh, I was so embarrassing. So I did yoga, girl, and I was trying to do the poses and stuff, and I was, and she was like, "I didn't breathe," and I was like, my bad. Like, I don't breathe when I do my workout. So yeah, that's very important that you're talking about the importance of breathing for sure. Yeah, it's very, very vital.
Please, we don't want because we don't want the last thing that we want you to do is to pass out. You try to hold your breath.
Okay,
breathe.
Somebody be by the dumpster. You pass out in my class,
right? Did you sign your waiver?
Right. The dumpster it is. That one.
And the thing about breathing, you'd be surprised. 1 to 3 minutes, if even that long, you could be pissed off one moment, take that time to pause and just take those deep breaths, and you feel like a totally different person after those breaths.
I never tried that
at
the house.
Oh, trust me. At my house, it's a lot of deep breathing.
Like, count to 1, 2,
3. That's a lot of deep breathing.
Y'all were teenagers. I know y'all got to do a lot of breathing.
Absolutely.
A lot of breathing.
Oh my God.
I be like,
Well, that brings us to the next question: meditation. So, how does I know you meditate? We all meditate here. We're all at different levels. I know I'm a novice, but we all believe in meditation. How does that fit into yoga? Because I know there's meditation yoga. There's
so many different forms of meditation, and meditation is a part or a component of yoga, and there's so many different types. So for me, I always when I talk about yoga, meditation is people sometimes think I gotta be sitting with my legs crossed, like and that your mind doesn't race. Like that's natural. Like your mind is always on the go. It's just more so about sitting still. And letting those thoughts come because they're gonna come, and then and they'll go. And the more you practice, maybe those thoughts won't come as many times, or you learn how to tune them out. But there's so many different types. You have your guided meditation. You have like candlelight meditation. Or you just have like the quietness. Whether you're sitting up, laying down, sitting in your bed. You don't have to go it's just really about quieting your mind.
Right.
Yeah, and you find what works for you. Like I often meditate in the early morning hours in my bed. Like I don't sit at my altar or anything like that. I lay in bed and just, like you said, find that stillness, and as simple as that.
And I think of it in a way of when we talk about prayer, right? You're praying to God or your higher power, whatever you believe in, right? So you're talking to the universe, God. I'm going to just say God in this sense because I believe in God. So you're talking to God. To me, meditation is awesome. Now you're waiting to listen.
I like that.
For those answers. It's like, okay, I done prayed about this, X, Y, and Z, but now I need to get somewhere and get quiet and listen.
And I think it's really good that, especially us getting older, to kind of get into the habit of doing that. I can't remember a time when I was younger where I actually meditated. I mean, we were taught that in church. If you come from the Christian sense, to what they call again, to the spirit realm. That's what they used to call it, right? So I was like, I didn't understand that, but until somebody broke it down, like, okay, meditation, like be quiet, be present, and just listen. Like sometimes I'll be in my car when I leave a day's worth of work, because I'm always touching and talking to people all the time. So I would definitely have my music off. This is something I do for myself. I don't play the radio in my car when I'm leaving home from work. Mind you, I live down the street from my job. So I have that pleasantry of doing that, okay? But I can't drive down 40 minutes without no music. That ain't gonna happen. But what I do is like strictly after work. My music is off and I have a time where I kind of release those energies that I've been touching throughout the whole day. So it's just like, okay, I need to be present. And my day is good, don't get me wrong. I always have a good day at work, but when you're always around so many energies, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you need to like sit down, be present, because I feel like God talks to you all the time. All the time. Whatever those higher powers may be, just respect that as well. But it's just like something's always trying to reach inside of you and like just get you to where of that awareness and to where you can calm down and listen to what he's been telling you throughout the day. And that's what I do when I leave work. It's like, okay, release, probably just breathe.
And that's your version, like Onika said, like you finding out what works for you.
Yeah.
And it, I never forget, like when I started really getting into meditation, I actually took I think it was 8 weeks intro meditation at a Buddhist temple. Back in,
I remember that.
Yes. Locally in Houston, it was free. It was like in the 8-leaf area, and that was like a friend had told me about it, and so we did it together, and I was like, this is different because I'm going into the Buddhist temple and their rituals is very different, and just to learn about the basics, and we would start our practice with certain chants. We would do like a walking meditation, and then there was like a lectures period, and then we actually sat and meditated, and it was like the traditional with your legs crossed. We had like blankets we can sit on and put over us, and it was just quietness. And then throughout, sometimes they would beat on the drum or things like that. But that was just very interesting to me.
Okay, so let me ask y'all a question. What led you to the practice of teaching yoga? Like, what was your defining moment? Or it don't have to be dramatic, you know. Did you run across the street like Tina Turner?
I need a room.
Yes. Was it dramatic like that, or like what happened?
Yeah, they never Ike. You trying to help Ike? Okay, what was it?
What was it?
Was it anime? Okay.
Oh, well, for me, it wasn't that dramatic, but I've always had some sort of like physical something in my life, movement, exercise. And around 2006, between 2006 and 2008, I became a newly single mom. That was very, very emotional and stressful. And I think I took a class at the gym by myself, and then a friend offered for me to come with her to a class, and I just kept going, kept showing up, and I fell in love with it. And then the stress became less. You know, dealing with my daughter, trying to adult, it became less, and so I stuck with yoga. And I thought to myself, well, damn, if I could feel this good, this less stress, I want other people to feel that way as well.
Now, with you being a new mother, though, how did you find the time to squeeze in yoga in your schedule? Being a new mother is very busy.
Thank
so
God for family.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
family to help
family,
you out.
yeah. I had a really amazing support system. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, for me, it was, I've always dabbled in, like working out. I mean, so I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I have a master's degree in physical and health education. So wellness has always been like something that I enjoyed. So for yoga though, it was, again, I can't remember the year, but I was first introduced to yoga through my late aunt. She lived in California for many years, moved back to Texas, and at the time she was living next door to my grandmother, so I would just go over her house, and one day she was like, oh, let's do yoga, and I was like, what is that? Like, I had never heard of it, and the very first time I practiced yoga was in her house that she led, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. It was just, I enjoyed it. I don't know, it was more so, it was just another connection between me and her. And I left it there. And then I didn't do no research about yoga, nothing like that. So then later, one of my sorority sisters, she had mentioned that she was going to do yoga class by her house. And I was like, oh, there's a yoga studio? I remember I did yoga before. And so she was like, yeah, they offer like a free 30-day trial pass or 7 days, something like that. So I was like, oh, okay. And I went. And it was hot yoga.
No.
What, a Boko Haram or something like that?
Bikram, yeah.
That's like, it wasn't Bikram.
Uh-huh.
It was just a hot it was a 90-minute class, but it wasn't Bikram yoga. And so hot yoga is like the room is set to like 95 degrees and you're doing yoga for, at this time, it was a 90 minutes. And I was like, what the hell did I just get myself into because it's hot? So, but I did it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then from there, I think that was in 2007, I'm going to say. And then I just dabbled off and on in yoga, just trying different studios, even at the gym.
And you switched off from hot yoga to regular yoga, of course.
No, I stayed with hot yoga for a long time.
That's interesting.
Then I went to Bikram yoga, which is it's a set of 26 poses that you do for 90 minutes. And I like hot yoga became my jam, and I stayed there. And if I would like to say the gym yoga, of course it wasn't hot, but it was just different. But I'm a person who's when I'm into something, I'm all in and I'm focused on that, and I can have like an addictive personality. So I was just addicted to hot yoga, and I didn't want to really try anything else.
And that's what I'm gonna ask you, like, what's the discipline in that?
And so then my sister's best friend got certified in yoga, and she was like, girl, you should try these other classes. So I trying other classes. I got out of my box, and I was like, oh, again, got into yoga. So long story short, I'm saying all, I feel like I'm just talking on and on and on.
No, you good. I'm curious how you did hot yoga, and
then
was
I was
okay
just,
with
at that point, I was like, oh, I thought about want to get certified because I thought maybe I want to do it on the side. Then I was like, no, I just really want to deepen my practice. And that was just like a bucket list of mine for years. And then, and to be truth be told, at the time, most of the to get certified, it was like during the week. And I didn't want to take off of work. And so I was trying to find, then I was thinking of the cost. Long story short, 2017, I was like, I'm doing something for myself. And I just said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get certified. And that's how I decided to get certified. But to answer your question, Paulette, about the hot yoga, in hot yoga, you do the same sequence. It's not anything different.
Okay.
And so I guess it was that regimen of, I knew what the poses were going into it.
Gotcha.
And all of that. So, yeah.
It's not like you're struggling and why it's hot. And you already knew what was to be expected and you kind of got into it.
Yeah.
But it goes back to you find what works for you, because I tried hot yoga maybe 3 times, and I was like, this ain't for me. It's a wrap.
Is it funky in there?
It's hot.
It's humid. I thought I was going to pass out.
Oh, wow.
It was not for me.
But
But
is
you
it
stay
funky,
committed
though?
to it.
No, but
It's not funky.
it's not funky, but it's definitely very, very mentally challenging, because it's hot as hell in there, and you're moving. You have your water, your mat is drenched. But to me, I guess it was just a mental challenge. Like, if I keep
90
showing
minutes
up,
too.
and if I just keep showing up and I'm doing it, like, hot yoga is not for the faint of heart. And I will say, I have not done hot yoga. It's been years since I've done hot yoga. Once I open myself up to other forms, getting my certification, I realized for me, I can grow in my practice by doing other styles, because it's because again, the hot yoga is a set sequence, so you're only doing certain poses that I was not getting to do if I went to like a flow class, which is the vinyasa flow, or even a rocket class that do inversions, etc. So
that kind of leads into the next question. Are there several different yoga styles? Do y'all personally have a style that you prefer to practice or teach? And you said that you want to get away from the hot yoga.
Well, I've gotten away from it in general. But yes, like this, there are so many different forms of yoga.
Styles.
So many different styles. You have, again, your rocket, which is They do a lot of inversions, meaning like you're doing some handstands, you're doing like the dolphin, like you're doing a lot of
Difficult poses.
yes, I would say difficult, but that's relative. But then you have just a regular vinyasa flow. Then you have your slow flow, which you're still moving from pose to pose, but at a slower rate.
Yeah.
Restorative,
Hatha.
Yeah, break that down. Okay, y'all saying so okay, so yoga is not something that this to say, like for instance, me and Pam was to walk in there. We're not yoga freaks or nothing like that. Let's say for us being beginners. Where was your recommend?
Yoga freaks.
I'm saying that in a positive way because I'm like, I admire people that do yoga. It's one girl that I follow, and I don't know if y'all follow this girl, but she's so inspirational to me. I follow her on Instagram. She's a very heavy set girl, beautiful girl, very heavy set, and this girl is outstanding when it comes to yoga. And I wish I was more prepared for this podcast so I can mention her name. I think her name is Jasmine or something like that. But she's an African-American girl. She's very heavy set. And a lot of people criticized her because she was so overweight. But this girl, yoga poses was sick. Like, I'm talking about she could do any different
That's
pose.
a misconception. And I want people to stop that. You can't look at someone and say that they can't do something. Like you mentioned, that girl can probably run laps around the skinnies of the skin to do that. So you can't look at yoga is for everybody. And so it's like, but also finding your teacher makes a big difference of learning, like, for your body. If you have somebody with big breasts, big, hips, booty, and all that you just sort of gotta move it out the way to get into that pose, and that's okay. But
what about stomachs?
Yoga
is for everybody.
I struggle doing yoga with y'all, but we'll get there later. Struggle city.
The restorative, the yin, which is more. I think of those as more meditative because you're really like lying down more. You're using like your props, so your yoga blocks, your pillows, your blankets, or towels, and you're just laying. Not I'm saying you're laying there because you are doing something, but they're more of a. I think I'm like going back to meditative or whatever, but finding a beginner's class, like I wouldn't jump into going to an advanced class or a rocket class, and then you're going to be like, what the hell? I'm not coming back.
It's going to look like a whole circus if I join a class and not know what I'm doing.
So what style do you like? Do you like to practice when you're practicing yoga? Do you like to practice the same style that you teach, or is there do you like to practice and teach the same style, or do you like practicing one and teaching? So what do you like? What do you prefer?
My preference with teaching is Hatha. It's
It's Hatha.
Hatha yoga it's not Hatha and Vinyasa. Those are my two preferences. Vinyasa is more of a fast paced. Pretty much go through the same flow. Hatha is a slower paced, more focused on strengthening and the core posture. Those are my two preferences. Lately, I've gotten into dabbling in yin yoga, which my students seem to enjoy. I'm not specialized in that. I'll put that out there, but I have a few poses that I do offer, and that's more, we use blocks or props. You're holding the poses a little bit longer. It's breaking down the fascia or help me out here. What is it called? Tissue. Muscle tissue.
The fat tissue, does it break down that?
Yoga is for everybody. I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to get this core right, bro.
So for me, my teachings are Hatha, Vinyasa, and now, as of late, the Yin, which is more of a little bit meditative and.
So basically, what you're saying, there's levels to this ish. There's levels. You can't just jump in.
Yeah, you can.
You can. Absolutely.
Like you have everybody, an expert, an advanced person has started as a beginner in some form or fashion. Like you didn't wake up and being like, I'm this avid yogi and I can go and do these
and handstands.
Right. All these different poses. Like everyone is a beginner at something. It's more about being consistent. And like, for the styles, like for me, I like a good vinyasa. Like I love a flow class. There's at one point, especially when I was going through my certification, I loved Rocket because, and then I started getting in like, I won't say my head, but I was like, okay, I thought, all these cool inversions, poses
Yeah.
was like cool to see, and I wanted to get there, so I started like going to a lot of those classes. But then, then that happened. I got my certification or whatever, but still, when I was going to classes, I was still lean towards the Rocket, but then I think then COVID happened, and then just had to come home. But I'm a vinyasa. When I'm doing practicing, I like a good vinyasa flow class. But yes, it is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
Oh, and the girl's name is Jasmine Stanley. I don't know if y'all seen this girl. I know y'all seen her.
I've seen her before.
Yes.
Oh,
she is so inspirational. Shout out to her if she's watching this. I wish she did watch this. Shout out to her. She is so inspirational. I follow her on Instagram, and like she comes up with these. I ain't saying she's like this spiritual guru or anything like that, but I like the fact that she's outside of what people think what yoga looks like. And it's really encouraging because, people think yoga, like you got to be fit and your body got to be tight and this and that. But she's an African-American girl who, I think she's in a poly relationship. Not to say that's besides the point, but she's very... she's not the look of what people think yoga looks like, and I really admire her for that. So if you see like the different posts on her Instagram page, her name is Jasmine Stanley, and this girl is like phenomenal. I think she actually came out with a book a couple months ago. She launched a book out about her journey through yoga and how it helped her with her depression and things of that nature. So it's very, very inspirational.
All about the wellness and helping through depression.
Definitely. Yeah. So is there a number of black yoga instructors or participants increasing as y'all are doing these classes? Because, with black people, now me and Pam, we come from the Christian faith now. We're Pam, you Koji, and me, hey, John Osteen Lakewood Church back in the day since the 60s, okay? So, we been in the church and we was taught out. I can speak for myself. Yoga is the devil. You don't do poses. The only poses you should be doing is this.
Yes.
On your knees, praying to God.
Namaste.
Why you doing this? That's the devil. So I'm just like, oh my God. Like I really feel like yoga can really be universal to everybody. Like it doesn't have to be looked or deemed as such like a demonic or evil thing. So what are your opinions on that? And can y'all elaborate on how you feel about black people doing, like, do you feel like more black people are open to it? Because, we're very religious in our culture. So.
And you brought up something when the girl was like, I go to a yoga studio. You was like, oh, there's a yoga studio.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes, like, black people don't know about yoga. We're not educated to yoga. So, like, is the number increasing of participants and black yoga instructors?
I say that, let's start with what Paula said. I think we talked about this like before we started filming and things like that. Like I hadn't heard of that until I went through my certification, and that was like a little piece that we talked about during my training. But I personally had never heard that before until that time. So I don't know where that comes from or why certain religious groups or whatever think that you shouldn't practice yoga, because I don't know. So maybe I need to speak to somebody who feels that way to hear that perspective, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Onika,
yeah, I can't really speak to that. That has not really been my experience.
I know with my mom, like I remember I was trying to do yoga. I was watching this video, and this is when I was living with my mom, and I was doing poses and stuff, and she was like, "Oh, that's so demonic or whatever." Now, mind you, my mom went through her own spiritual journey after the fact. And she actually went to a Buddhist temple and she learned about meditation and things of that nature. And I know she started to become open to different things.
Right.
So
I think if it's not in the Bible, then it's not. So yoga is not in the Bible, and so it's anti-religion. That's how I think, because they don't say anything about yoga in the Bible. So
I'm like, if it's not in the Bible, if it's not in the Bible, is it evil or bad? Like is it evil or good? If it's not in the Bible, then what's the point of?
But it's a lot of people that think that, and I know it was even touched upon Jamie Foxx's show, the one with his daughter. Dad, you're embarrassing me again. She was going to a yoga studio, and her dad and her grandfather in the show did not want her to do it because they were saying it was of the
Really?
devil. Yeah, but that's just so we're gonna get into myths about yoga.
Yeah.
But that's just one of the myths that like we're taught that. I mean, if it ain't Bible, then it's a sin.
So yeah, I would love to like engage with somebody who has a strong belief in that, and just so I can hear that perspective and have that dialogue because
we do it for part 2.
And then, but to answer your question, Pam, about black people, men and women in yoga. I would say like when I very first got into yoga, I didn't see a lot of us practicing yoga. And then I later found, a black studio in Houston. When I went there, I bought like a 30-day pass or a 2-week pass, I can't remember. And it felt good to be around. I mean, there was others in there too, but it was a mostly, black men and women in there. And it felt like really good to like be in that environment. But now in the age of social media, like there's so many black people that are doing yoga, or at least who I choose to follow and get to see, and it's and they're just locally in Houston, there is a lot of black men and women who teach yoga.
So it's the exposure that we have now.
Right. And then I know there's this and some people try to have themes to get more black people engaged.
What kind of themes?
We love to put trap on it. Trap. It's like, okay, it was guaranteed to get your black people in because you get trap. Trap karaoke, trap. And so I remember I've seen like trap yoga, and they're doing the yoga poses, but now you throwing that ass in a circle. Listen to that while you're doing it.
So you're kind of watering it down.
Okay, so what's your opinion on that? When people trying to remix yoga to get more people into it, how do you feel about that personally?
That personally, that's not my style, but I understand of maybe trying to expose people to it, like kind of like almost like meeting people where they are. So maybe I like that scene, so I'll go, and then maybe I'll go and like I realize, I do like yoga, so maybe then I can go look at other options. So I'm not knocking it,
right? But trap yoga is not where you're going to center yourself.
Right.
It's to be one with yourself.
But again, it may work for some people. If that's
the younger
for them, then,
maybe a certain demographic.
I think, as a 41-year-old woman, I enjoy some trap from time to time. Not rotation, but that's not,
it's like to each his own. I know, like with me, I don't want to hear no bang bang. Pop pop pop. I can't even listen to that on my way going home because this is my time to release and relax.
I think there's a time and place for certain things, but I feel like find what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. If that's your introduction, and then maybe if you want to get deeper, then like Onika said, you go explore other options. But I do feel like there is a market for black people in the yoga industry, and it's really about finding that. With social media, Google, you can find it, and it's just and I still see, like, I haven't actually practiced in a studio in a very long time just because of, with COVID and all of that. But my experiences have been where it still is majority of, the black people in the classes are still a minority.
So are you seeing that when you teach at the YMCA?
Yeah, actually, it's a good mix for me. I'm talking black, all races, young, old, and so I appreciate that. But my personal experience, the very first person that I ever knew to do yoga was my cousin years ago. And I didn't connect with it because I'm like, okay, it's for white people. It ain't for me. It ain't for me. It ain't for me. But as I continue through my personal journey, I had white instructors, few dibbles and dabbles of blacks in class, but the practice itself is what, appealed to me. My first black instructors where I actually found my community. That's where I felt connected. And so, yes, but in my classes, I have a good mix, age-wise. And I think, like I'll say for my daughter and her friends, they come to my classes. So to even be at that age, they're teenagers, 17, 16, 18. to be exposed and
Right.
see somebody that looks like them.
Right.
You know,
And I think that's the
Good.
key. There is nothing like seeing
your own.
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and in those spaces. Like so yeah, when I started finding some black teachers when I did belong to a studio, I sought out those classes because I did enjoy seeing a woman or man that looked like me up there. And then because they were teaching, I saw more black students in their class. It does feel
bringing
like
it in.
you
Representation
felt
is
you
very
like
important.
you
And
felt your tribe.
I'm
and it's
seeing
nothing
it
like
more on TV too, like with the show 20s. There's a black yoga instructor,
Yes.
and then even in the bigger.
Yep.
There's she practices. One of the main characters does yoga, doesn't she? Or she has her own.
20s. I know
20s for sure, but I think in bigger. No, the lady next door did.
Yeah,
the
the white lady
Yeah,
with the
next door.
homeless man.
Yeah. But
Yes.
but it is being more. We see it more on TV
Yeah.
and social media and the
And I
exposure
think-
Harlem,
that
they
are.
show Harlem. They got yoga.
Yeah, Harlem.
Yeah.
And so, when you again, one of
we
the
didn't
beauties.
see that back in the day at
Yeah,
all.
you
No,
didn't see
we
that back.
didn't.
You
We
didn't
see
see
that
that
back
back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, and then social media can be a lot of things, but one of the beauties I feel like of it is, depending on what you're into, you can go find your people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
start following
Yeah.
them and seeing that, and then
Yes.
finding people locally because we are in the Houston area. There are a lot of great of black yoga teachers. Here's two here. So
Okay.
Accessibility. So yeah, just finding somewhere that works for you. You have social media, you have YouTube, you have community classes, which we offer one. I offer one. And then you find that and commit to it.
I agree. It's just, you have to, like, just with anything that you're trying new, staying consistent and bouncing around and trying different instructors, whether they're studios, gyms, free classes. It's finding it and sticking with it, because it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You two are yoga instructors.
Speaking of accessibility.
And
Right.
speaking of happening overnight, so I got certified to teach in 2011. Getting certified in 2011, I didn't actually start teaching until 2015. And like I said, Nick really pushed me to move outside of myself. I was holding back a gift that I didn't even realize that I had. Now that I'm teaching, I really, really enjoy it, and I wouldn't change anything.
Oh my God, I remember during COVID. I'm sorry. I remember during COVID, you were doing classes live on Facebook. And that was so relaxing. It was a consistent thing, but that was really nice that you do that during the COVID time. We didn't know what was going to happen. We just sat at home like, I don't know what to do. You were like, okay, Fridays.
We're going to do yoga.
We're going to do yoga. And it was so relaxing. So thank you for that. That was awesome.
I'm so glad you couldn't see me, because I was doing yoga in here and it was remedial
But that's okay.
remedial 101.
It's all about showing up.
Yeah.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
be practice. And for me, I was a little different. So I got certified at the end of 2017. I went into my certification. One, I wanted to deepen my practice. Then I wanted to teach on the side as a side thing. And incorporate it through some other things that I was working on. But then I was through a lot. No, that wasn't 2017. I take that back. That was 2019. Sorry. I got certified at the end of 2019 with the intention of, again, like I said, deepening my personal practice, and then also wanted to teach on the side. There's a lot of things personally that was going on in my life in 2019. So I put that on pause as far as looking for a part-time gig somewhere, and then going into 2020, COVID happened. So it's kind of the world shut down. We don't know what was going on.
Maybe you had
all
a
that
class or something, right?
And then so fast forward to, I think it was August. It was either July or August of 2019. I had two of my friends, two of my sorority sisters. They would ask me about. I would always get asked in general, when are you going to teach? When are you going to teach? And I'm like, But then what birthed from that was Zoom, because by that time everybody was on Zoom.
Yeah.
Getting used to that. So that pushed me to start teaching. I remember I started off with 1 day a week, and then I moved to 2 days a week teaching virtually. And I did that for a while, and then I kind of like stopped, and now I just really do it off and on when I'm asked. Like I have an event in March, somebody has asked me to teach for. So yeah, then me and Onika, talk a lot about yoga and teaching, and talking to her about her experience with the Y has put a bug in my ear of, okay, do you really want to do this? And if so, like finding a home base, I should say, to like consistently teach at.
Okay.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I am an accountant by day, so yoga for me has been like a really good balance because my career is a little stressful. So I look forward to going to class and teaching the students and just having that energy exchange because it calms me down too. And
Okay, so y'all have been friends for a while, and y'all have similar interests. So y'all formed a partnership called On Sundays.
yeah.
On for Onika and Nikki.
Shout out to my boo.
Shout out for Mr. EQ. Coming up with that on Sundays.
Yes. And then y'all practice on Sundays. So
Every first Sunday.
Sunday. So let's talk about how it formed. Like, how did y'all get together and say, hey, let's form this partnership and tell us how it formed and what you do and where you all are now.
Okay, so we always talked about, I think after you got your certification, like doing something together, collaborating on something. Outside of the YMCA, I do a free community yoga class, or used to. It's on pause right now, on Sundays. And I was doing it on my side of town, the east side. Going back to accessibility, I just wanted to offer something back to the community that was free. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm doing it on the east side 4 Sundays a month. Let's take one of those Sundays and bring it to the city. So I hit my girl up, and she was with it, and we formed On Sundays.
Yeah, and like she mentioned, like in her neighborhood, I would come out there and come to her classes, and she offered me the opportunity to teach one of her Sundays there. So we did that, and then so when we talked about it and she brought it up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm with it. And so we went and scouted locations. We picked a park, and we did that for a while. And then, of course, with the uptick of like the COVID numbers and all of that, we had to put a pause on Sundays, but hoping to reconvene, and bring it back for 2022. And like Onika said, the biggest thing for us is accessibility. Like, we were doing this, it's free, but we wanted to like just bring it as an opportunity for people, whether you were a novice or an advanced, but to come out on the first Sunday of the month and practice with us.
So y'all look forward to it. We're going to put a post on Sips&Convo. Ladies, so y'all want to come out to do your yoga.
Gentlemen.
Yes, and gentlemen. We're single over here on this side. You need some flexible man. It's split on this side. We are single. So you're a flexible man that wants to advance.
Let's go back to myths.
Okay.
That is actually
a myth. That's a myth.
Okay, let me ask y'all a question. So the sexual part of the yoga, in Jesus' name, yes. How does it help you advance in that area? Is there a myth to it, or is it good? Is it beneficial? Okay, y'all, we're 40 years old. We're not kids no more. Let's talk about it, okay? The flexibility of, you trying to get there with your man or your woman. You want to be flexible. So how does yoga help in that area? Can we talk about that or not? We ain't too Christian to talk about that, are we?
Well, first of all, having to be flexible to practice yoga is a myth. Let's
Okay.
start there.
All
Let's
right.
talk about that.
Yoga may help you gain some flexibility, but you don't have to be flexible to practice yoga.
Okay.
Now, as far as sexual relations go, I don't know. Breathe.
Right, go back to the breath.
Does it help with stamina? Like will it help with stamina?
But running could help with
true?
stamina.
Okay.
Exercise can help with stamina.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's just,
anything that gets your body moving, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
But another myth about it is that men don't practice yoga, or
Yeah.
there's a certain type of man that practice yoga,
Oh,
and that is
uh-huh,
very far from the truth. Like,
Yeah.
I love to see, men come to classes and practice, and
yeah.
it again, yoga is for everybody, regardless, no matter the gender or whatever you identify as.
Yeah.
Come
yeah,
on, man.
I can think of 3 guys actually now that come consistently to my class, and range in age and race. One of them sits right up front, like I'm here and he's here, like practicing consistently, and I love that.
Is he fine or how's he?
He's an old white married man that always brings me garden veggies that I love.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah, so
But
it's-
that's another
But
thing
it's,
that goes back to practicing wellness, mind, body, and soul, like with the yoga. So it doesn't, they could be coming, just to practice that meditation piece, or another aspect of it is just not the physical. I need to be in a gym just pumping up versus like I need something that really connects me to my center.
So when we
Absolutely.
think about
Yes.
when we think about physical activity in general, there is a balance of cardio, strength, flexibility, and I know that Onika kind of did touch on this. We'll talk about the benefits of yoga and different practices like working with your core. If your core is not strong, you're going to struggle in other areas of the physical activity. Like your core, think of your core as your foundation.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that your foundation is solid and strong before dabbling into other types of physical activity, and more specifically, like yoga can help you get in that strong core.
But like y'all said, it's all about having the right instructor too as well. One thing I noticed, I remember the first time I did yoga, the instructor was very relaxing in her voice. I'm the type of person, like, I'm very sensitive to sound, so she made sure that her tone was very soft to where people can like be more centered and kind of calm down a little bit. So does that play a big part?
That's
in
Onika.
yoga?
I'm not a calm.
I hear that very often in my class.
We're a good balance.
We're very
Onika
good balance.
is like,
Yes.
Onika's
You
like,
like downward dog.
That's not right. That's not right.
That's it.
Right. Engage your core.
No, she's not like that.
okay, I am not like that in my
She's not.
classes.
She's not.
But I am not sure. Step your right foot forward and
Yeah.
lean into. I'm like, step your right foot forward. So and then again,
Downward, bitch.
put that ass up.
Toot it up.
I am not like that, but it goes back to like I don't have a soft voice. That's not in general. Like that's just I am the way I show up in the world is how I show up in my class. The way that I teach.
So that's a
Same.
mix. Like you don't have to have that
Same.
certain tone to
Yeah.
teach yoga.
You
Right.
don't, and
Okay.
I think sometimes, especially as a new teacher, and I know that I know during my certification when we had to practice teach, I found myself taking on like the demeanor of what I heard and what I thought it should be. In that, and I remember that, my teachers, there was 3 black women that was my lead trainers. One would say, "They don't even talk like that. Like they don't even sound like you." And I'm like, it's not like
So make it your own.
Make it your own. But finding your.
So I ain't gonna lie, man. That class, man, she had a really soft. Like, again, I'm very sensitive to sound, so she had this soft voice. So we did one pose where you wind down, and I stayed there.
I've had that happen. I've had a person fall asleep in my class before.
Oh, wow. But you have
Because
that
the voice.
I hear that a lot.
voice.
I hear that a lot. I'm
It's like the
okay.
ASMR. I don't know if y'all into that. I'm into that
is.
stuff. So like, I'm very sensitive to sound. So if you have that soft tone, I will try my hardest to focus, but I will fall asleep.
I've had that
Like,
happen.
yeah.
You do
I-
have
I
that
might
soft
be
tone. And then you
Nikki's
teaching in the
class.
evening, too.
Yeah.
People
I'll
are
be at
tired.
Nikki's class. I'm like, girl, you better wake me up. Cause downward dog.
Because Paulette came, when I was going through my teacher training, Paulette came to the class that I was teaching at. Onika
I
did
came.
too.
Yeah, we all came.
Yeah,
good.
but I'm like,
She was like direct. Oh, Polly, get your leg, push your leg back.
lying,
That's
y'all.
shit.
She's lying.
No.
She is not.
That would be a
She's
cute
not.
one.
No.
Drill Sergeant Yoga. Yeah, that would be cute.
But the funny part about it was like when I took her class, I was still relaxed. I think it was like the poses and she did tell us to breathe, so that helped a lot. So it wasn't stressful. It wasn't like, but yeah.
Okay, well,
But the longer you teach, the easier you'll find your voice.
You'll get more comfortable
the more
too.
comfortable you become.
Yes.
Because when I first started going to class to teach, I mean, my heart would be like beating out my chest. My palms would be sweaty. My armpits would be sweaty. That lasted for like 3 months.
Oh wow.
Just nervous
Until you find your
because I am
comfort
an
zone.
introvert.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my cousin called me an extremist because it's like, okay, you're an introvert, but you're gonna stand in front of a class and teach a bunch of people. That's what I did. So now I actually like look forward to going to class. Not even a second thought to go and teach people. Like I said, I love it. I wouldn't take it back for anything.
I have a question. I know a lot of people, and even for me, I would say I'm not going to. This is going back to the myths. I'm not going to do yoga because I need more cardio. I want to lose weight. So can we talk about how like some people won't do yoga because they think it's more of a stretching? But can we talk about like it's like really getting the heart pumping and it can be exercise as well, because people are losing weight doing yoga. And then but like some people like me think like, okay, well I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to sweat enough, or I'm not going to burn enough calories doing it. So can we talk about that real quick?
That goes back to there's so many types of yoga,
Right.
and there are some forms of yoga that will get your heart rate up. And if that's what you're looking for, and I think it goes back to whatever your personal goals are. But yes, yoga can aid in the assistance of like if your goal is to like lose some weight. Again, going back to those types of yoga, getting that get your core foundation, getting that strong, being able to do certain things. You will burn calories, but
I think yoga is underestimated
Yes.
in that sense.
yes,
Yeah.
I've had teenage athletes come into my class and be like, yo, this is the hardest shit I've ever done.
because they usually
You work
work
muscles
weights.
that, they're used to weights. You're
Yeah.
working muscles that you're not used to working. You're breathing. First of all, when you're breathing internally, you're heating up your inside. So you're going to sweat. You're going to naturally detox.
Yeah.
And that helps with losing.
So a lot of people just don't. I didn't know that. So a lot of people don't know. So there's a myth. But so thank you, ladies, for joining P Squared Sips and Convo.
Yes,
and we happy New Year to everybody out
Happy
there.
New Year.
And we really want to practice a new year, new mindset, not just focus on New Year's resolutions. So Onika, tell people where they can find you.
Where can you find me? On my social medias, I
At the
suppose.
YMCA.
Yes, you can find me at the YMCA, way on the east side of town, Wendell DeLay. It's on Wallaceville Road. My social media, Onika. What's my Instagram? Oh, Love Child.
We can post it like in the comments down below.
Child, I don't look at my own Instagram. So yeah,
We'll
You
post
find
it
me
down
there.
on the comments in the YouTube link. We'll post down their information personally. So if y'all want to follow these two, you're more than welcome. We'll post it right down below when we post this YouTube video up. So
I'll give you two things because my social media is private. But I do have a public Instagram page called Totally Connected Wellness. So you can find me on there as well. That's public page, but my personal page is private.
y'all bring your glasses up. We about to close it down.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Peace, rest,
Bye, guys.
Bye.